Alright, and we're started. So we'll sync up in just a second here. Both are going to be going for the fast setup for wheel mix. Quil gets it, Rox gets it as well, so that's pretty big for both runners. Saves quite a bit of time throughout the first 3 levels until they change over the burning. One quick thing you're going to be seeing from both is they're doing wheel cancels, which allows you to quickly regain your running movement or animation out of wheel. It's one of those little things that will save time, but essentially you mash B or the control pad to speed up. So yeah, wheel's a pretty important ability. You're going to see it a lot throughout Nightmare and Dreamland because it's very great for vertical movement as well as being invulnerable while you use it. Both runners are going to drop it for a second, however, to get a double star, which is instantly going to KO this mid-boss Poppy. Wheel's pretty slow and not super effective against most of the bosses, so a lot of times they're either going to temporarily drop it or change out for a different ability. You can also see as both runners hit water, they're going to essentially reverse. Oh, unfortunately, Quil taking a hit there, but that's so you can enter the water a bit faster. It's just a small movement tech you're going to see, considering these are both really good runners with a lot of practice, and they're going for pretty much every high-level strategy that they can. So entering World 3 here, entering Level 3, they're going to be using Wheel for the first half and then changing over to Burning. Burning is also a pretty good ability for movement-wise, but it's also a lot better against most of the mid-bosses and regular bosses throughout this game, which makes it a better alternative to Wheel in some situations. Also, just to clarify, this is the 100% category. So for the first 2 worlds, there's nothing going to be anything 100% related. Not until Butter Building, the 3rd world, will we get into the 100% stuff, which is hitting around 18 switches throughout the game. I believe it's around 18 or so, just under 20 essentially. Alright, so both runners finishing 1-3 with Burning and are going to have the Mr. Frosty fight towards the beginning. They're essentially just going to hold Burning against this wall using the recoil to bounce back and hit him. Again, Burning is a lot better than Wheel against a lot of the bosses specifically, which is why it's dropped. The room they're in right now is very difficult. There's a lot of enemies going by, and losing Burning is a big time loss, so whatever they do, they want to be able to keep Burning for the remainder of World 1 and a bit beyond that. The final room, not as hard though, because you do get this candy, so it's pretty hard to get hit and lose in the process. Rox building about a 3-second lead approximately going into Wispy, the first boss of the game. Wispy pretty easy, no real RNG involved. All you need to do is rhythmically hit him with Burning about a dozen or so times, and then the boss fight is over. Definitely the easiest to get through. Alright, so a 317 from Rox and a 320 from Quil. So yeah, just around a 2.5-3 second lead going into Ice Cream Island, where the difficulty picks up for this game, slightly. Overall, Kirby Nightmare and Dreamland has a fairly linear difficulty scale, where each world is approximately a bit harder than the last, except for maybe World 4, which is a bit easier. So the first part, using a Burning to get through the level, not only being able to give you that horizontal speed, but also the invulnerability to get through enemies is pretty important. So Rox still holding on to a slight second lead going into a 2-2 here. There's going to be another Warp Star, so just a bit of a cutscene, and then there's going to be the Grand Wheelie mid-boss. What they're going to be doing is they're going to drop Burning and do another double star strategy similar to what we saw in 1-2, and then they're going to inhale the Grand Wheelie to get Wheel back. So pretty easy to do here as long as you are able to get the double star. Both Rox and Quil getting that. And then what they're going to do here is essentially just float over this small little ramp section that you typically use Wheel for just to get to the end. So 2-2, a pretty easy stage in all honesty, as long as you don't have any problems with that mid-boss. But we are going into 2-3, which is quite a bit more difficult. So there isn't an arena in this level, which is where you have to deal with a whole bunch of enemies, a whole bunch of Meta Knight enemies. And essentially what they're going to want to do is get through this arena while keeping Wheel in the process, because it speeds up and saves a lot of time in 2-4 and 2-5. But getting through the arena while keeping Wheel is quite difficult. Rock's struggling a bit in the maze. Quil just about a second behind right now. So what they're going to do is they're going to drop Wheel and essentially deal with these enemies while the star is bouncing around, inhaling it every few seconds to ensure that it doesn't go stale and, explode before. Okay, Rock's able to get it, as does Quil. And Quil actually taking a slight lead coming out of the arena, having some very clean movement towards the end. Rock's getting hit there, unfortunately. But both are going to be able to save quite a bit of time in 2-4 and 2-5 throughout, or because they're able to use Wheel, which you otherwise wouldn't have. This is sort of a route change that's happened in about the last year or so that most top runners have started implementing. Just because Wheel is tough to use in certain parts of this game, but it does save quite a bit of time. This TikTok fight with Wheel is pretty difficult. You need to turn with very strict time limits to ensure that you can hit TikTok while not getting hit in the process, which would slow down the fight drastically. Quil actually struggling in that room a bit. Rock's retaking a very slight lead. And Wheel saving a lot of time in these rooms when you otherwise would be doing this powerless, typically. And yeah, has about a second just more of a lead going into 2-5. The routes for 2-5 merge at this point, because if you don't have Wheel, you would otherwise get it in the second room. But there's a bit more time saved from keeping Wheel in the first room of 2-5. Again, Rox is a bit of a slight lead here. But Quil definitely not too far behind. Both playing pretty well so far. No major mistakes. So after this room, they're going to actually change out Wheel for high jump. So while Wheel is one of the best abilities in the game for horizontal movements, high jump is really good for vertical movement and is also pretty much synced right now going into the high jump room. Wow. Quil unfortunately missing the door there. Yeah, high jump is not only a great ability for movements, especially vertically, it's also a lot better than Wheel against a lot of, again, the bosses and mid-bosses throughout the game. And butter building the next world is a very vertically oriented level, which is why high jump is super important to keep. Going into Paint Roller, a bit of RNG, you hopefully want Paint Roller to go into the top right corner. Rox gets the best pattern, Quil unfortunately gets the worst, which is bottom left. So Rox being able to save a bit of time there, thankfully, to the better Paint Roller pattern. Bit of an annoying fight because you want to be able to space close. High jump does more damage when you're up close to enemies, but obviously if you get too close, especially if Paint Roller going pretty quickly, you will lose the ability, waste a bunch of time. Also, high jump cancel, you can press B after using high jump to not do the full height and just cancel the jump. You're going to see that a lot because the full high jump animation is pretty long and you lose some speed towards the end of it. Quil getting a slight edge right there from not struggling on that door, but pretty much neck and neck for these runners right now. So the whole point of 100% is there are a whole bunch of switches throughout this game that activate more of the overworld, unlocking a whole bunch of mini games and other areas. There's about just under 20 of these switches throughout the worlds. The first one in 3-1 you saw there. And the whole point of 100% is beat the game like regular, but getting all of these switches throughout the process. So the first one is in 3-1, and we're not going to see another one until the last level in this world, 3-6. 3-2, the level they're in right now, pretty difficult because one of the mid-bosses coming up, Bugsy, which is a very difficult boss fight. Both are going to be trying to do this fight with high jump. Typically, the easier strat is to use sword, but again, these are two top runners. They're going for the more difficult strategies, gotta save time. High jumping through those penguins there. They're going to want to land hits on Bugsy without getting grabbed in the process, because they're very long grab animations that lose a lot of time. You can see how carefully Quil is gaining some time there with his spacing. So Quil gaining a slight advantage going into the end of 3-2 here. But yeah, that Bugsy fight can be a big run killer. If you get grabbed, some of the animations can be up to, 3 or 4 or 5 seconds, lose a lot of time, and it's just a big mess. 3-3, very, very easy stage here. Oh, unfortunately, Rock's getting hit, though. I'm just going to grab the other high jump in the room. The whole point of 3-3 is that it's a small maze, but if you've played this game, you know, hundreds and hundreds of times, you're going to know how to get through there. Just need to do a whole bunch of high jumps, making sure to do high jump cancels, as it does speed up moving throughout those tight spaces. So yeah, Quil holding on to a couple of second lead going into 3-4 here, which is going to be another arena level. So similar to how they were trying to keep wheel throughout 2-3, they're going to try to keep high jump throughout this arena fight by knocking out all of the enemies with high jump, getting up close, and trying to keep high jump throughout it. So it's pretty difficult to do, and some of the enemy patterns can be random, so you need to be able to adapt. But Quil able to get through there pretty perfectly. See how Rox does. Looks like he's doing alright himself. Yeah, both runners having pretty clean arenas. Quil still holding on to widening his lead, still we'll see. Alright. Finishing on a 10:53, we'll see how much of a lead he has over Rox. Alright, about 6.5 seconds roughly. So if you lose high jump throughout that level, there is a copy room right there where you can get it as a backup. But both were able to keep it. Grabbing candy here, which pretty much lasts throughout the whole level if you're quick, and especially helps for this bonkers fight here. 3-5, one of the easier stages after 3-4. Also, these goal games, the whole idea is you want to get through them as quickly as possible. You don't really care about your score or getting any items. You just want to mash or time your press so that you can land on that 7 space. So Quil going into 3-6, using high jump into small areas to knock out these crash enemies before they hit them. And 3-6 is the second level in the game with a switch. So there'll be a slight diverge in the path we'll take. Overall, it's not a very hard switch to get, though. You can see how high jump can save so much time throughout this level in a lot of these rooms, just from, you know, quickly jumping, especially here, and the way that I can break blocks as well. So taking this sort of hidden path right here to get the second switch of the run, pretty easy. There are some more difficult switches with some more difficult tricks and mixes later on. So Quil entering the dark room, and which is the second last room of 3-6, and on to the final one. Rox not too far behind, you know, about half a dozen seconds or so. So the boss of Butter Building is actually one of the easier ones of the game. It is Shine and Bright, and essentially just going to get up close with high jump, and 3 jumps for both of them will knock them out. Quil guessing Moon, unfortunately guessing wrong. It's the sun that gets there first. So some people will specifically go to one side. Rock's also going for Moon, but he's going to get the good RNG, the 50-50 there. But unfortunately, misspacing the sun hits, so losing a bit of time there. He otherwise probably would have been able to save a bit of time from the better RNG, but Quil having a bit of a cleaner fight there. So yeah, you do more damage the closer you are. So if you're not too close, not spacing properly, rather than being a 3-hit KO, it could be a 4 or 5-hit KO. And as the fight drags on, you know, they move around and things get dicier. So going into Grave Garden, a bit easier than Butter Building, honestly, and then the run gets more difficult in Worlds 5 onwards. There is a switch in this level. They're going to be using high jump to break a whole bunch of blocks, so you'll see on Quil screen. And essentially, there's one hidden red dot in the background from one block you can break, and that's where the switch of this level is. And then there is a mix here to get Wheel. We'll see if Quil is going for it. Yes, he is. And he gets it. He nails it. So that is a really nice mix that's also been developed in the past, year, 2 years or so. And Rox gets it too, which allows you to save some time throughout 4-2, which is a pretty horizontally based level throughout a lot of it. But yeah, definitely a high risk, sort of low reward, because it saves about 4 seconds or so, but it's difficult to do. But both able to nail it there. There is a backup if you miss it. So essentially a second chance to get it, but it's a bit more inconsistent. You know, Quil's playing really well, as is Rox, really. He's just holding on to this slightly, not making any mistakes right now, so it's tough for Rox to catch up. But 4-2 has become a pretty important stage in the route, because you can also mix for Wheel again after this pop beep fight. You'll see that Quil goes for Spark, but essentially after... Oh, Rox losing Spark there, gonna have to respawn the enemy. And Quil He wants to knock these two enemies together so that he can mix for wheel again, and he gets it. Rock's trying to get the two bodies together just like Quil did, but unfortunately struggling a bit, and the first one blows up because he wasn't fast enough. So Quil getting that difficult 4-2 mix, and he's going to have wheel throughout 4-3 and 4-4, which is going to be able to allow him to really widen this lead. Rock's going to fall behind a bit more. 4-3 is another switch level. In this air room, if you go towards the very back of the room, Quil being careful not to get hit while having a wheel. Yeah, if you go to the back of this room, there is one switch you can hit. Just a slight divergence. Yeah, so Quil holding on to a decent lead here. The whole gimmick of this level is that there's wind, which sort of pushes you in one direction, which, affects the jump and, forces you on a bit faster. Rox is going to go for the backup if you don't have wheel, which is to essentially grab high jump here, which allows you to get through the final room a bit faster, assuming you're able to get through the last bit of this ship with high jump, because there's a whole bunch of enemies in a tight space. Yeah, looks like Quil holding on to about a 6 or 7 second lead here, but he still does have high jump going into 4-4, which is going to be, as you see, just really quickly getting through this room, where it's going to be quite a bit slower for Rox. There is another wheel mix. Not sure if Rox... Oh, he is... Yep, he's going for the backup wheel mix, and he gets it. Neither of these runners have missed a mix so far, which is pretty incredible. As far as I'm aware, at least. So yeah, Quil still saving a bit of time, and onto the fan fight, dropping wheel for Spark here, which is going to be better for the mid-boss. If you don't have wheel, by the way, you would just re-grab it for this room, but both, getting it off the mix is going to have it earlier. Quil not having any problems with that fan fight. Similar to Bugsy, if you get grabbed, it can be a very long animation. It can waste quite a bit of time. And also, a bit of new thing. In the past, what runners did was they'd grab throw there, and they'd keep it throughout this level and the next level, which has another Meta Knight arena, but another recent route change is to use Spark there instead, essentially saving a bit of time, and thanks to a runner sniper, there was a reroute for the arena that was better without using throw. So Quil holding on to a good lead going into this next, the third Meta Knight arena of the run, 3 of 5. So yeah, new movement was routed for this arena to get by it without using throw. Quil getting by there without any problems. Rock's now going through the arena. On Quil's side, he's going to be grabbing Burning to use throughout the next little bit. Alright, Rock's also having a great arena, getting that double star at the end. Alright, so Quil finishing the level of 1741, and see how much of a lead he has. Yeah, the last bit of this level, essentially a small maze, you're gonna get through very quickly with Burning. So I think that was, what, 1741? Is that about 15 seconds? 15-second approximate lead or something like that? Yeah, both runners, neither have missed a mix. Quil has not given Rox any opportunities to catch up so far here. Quil gonna be ditching Burning for Sword, using it for this TikTok fight. And probably the easiest switch of the run here is just hidden in this dark room right in the corner. It's probably also the easiest switch to forget because it's so simple and it's in that room. So Rox also wants the TikTok fight. Oh, unfortunately getting hit, yeah, not able to land a couple of those mid-air slashes, so a bit slower. Again, Quil really not making any mistakes throughout this level. And neither runner forgetting the switch, which is good. And they're going to grab high jump going into the Krakow fight here. Rock's getting hit, taking a bit of damage there. Alright, so 1852 finish for Rox. Or sorry, 1852 finish for Quil. So the Krakow fight, the first half is essentially using high jump. It's a bit of like an execution test. You're going to be doing those high jump cancels to land a bit faster to get through this platforming section. And then on to the actual Krakow fight. Okay, so about a 20-second lead or so for Quil right now. So as Krakow moves from one side of the screen to the other, you're going to be trying to land a whole bunch of high jumps in a row. Quil, unfortunately, just barely getting flipped and getting shocked, which has a whole very long animation, which loses a bunch of time. We'll see how Rox does for the Krakow phase, doing okay for the platforming parts. And, unfortunately, also getting in the same sort of way as Quil, getting caught in the corner there. So making the exact same mistake would have been an opportunity for him to hopefully catch up. But Quil really not making any mistakes. Going into 5-1, the first bit of Yogurt Yard, this stage is pretty easy. You're essentially just going to be grabbing stone, which you're using to grab this other switch hidden underneath the blocks. Just because that whole room is essentially your free-falling, and stone allows you to get through there as fast as possible. And then afterwards, ditch it and go through the rest of the level powerless. But yeah, this is one of the easier stages, but Yogurt Yard is a more difficult world once it gets to some of the later parts, really starting in 5-2. So, the biggest part of 5-2 is the first part in the run where you're introduced to Ball, which is the most important abilities in the speedrun, because it's pretty good. It has some uses movement-wise, but most importantly, it's one of the best abilities to use against the bosses in this game. So Quil, getting through the first bit of this room powerless, just some basic movement throughout there. And then grabbing Ball here. So you're going to see some of this ball movement going throughout there, but yeah, you can essentially bounce off walls, gain a whole lot of momentum, and very quickly move back and forth with some invulnerability. Doing a similar thing there, we're building some momentum in the corner, and then using it to launch across the room, essentially. Going into the Bonkers fight, which is a 2-hit KO with Ball, as long as you space properly. Unfortunately, Quil, the second hit a bit slow there, losing a bit of time. But yeah, Ball very quick against most of the mid-bosses and regular bosses, because it does so much damage, especially when you reach, that high speed. Alright, Rock's entering the Bonkers fight, see how he does. Getting the quicker second hit there, you can see Bonkers in the corner. So moving on to 5-3 for Quil, grabbing high jump again, which you're only going to be using for 2 rooms before actually switching to wheel, but it does save that little bit of time in that platforming room. As you can see, you're just going to grab wheel, which is pretty much the intended strat here. It's a room designed, with wheel in mind, so even in a non-speedrun context, usually going to be using it there. Yeah, no switch in 5-3. The next switches will be in 5-3 and 5-5, no switch in 5-3. The next switches will be 5-4, 5-5, and 5-6. Quil, unfortunately, losing wheel in the final spike room. You can use it for a bit longer to save a bit of time, but otherwise, not really that big of a loss. Still has a pretty decent lead over Rox. On Rox's side, you can see he's using these wheel jumps to save just a bit of time. You can't use wheel on top of the blocks, otherwise they'll break. Unfortunately, Rock's getting stuck in those spikes there a bit. Back on Quil's side, entering 5-4, using burning throughout the beginning here to get through the spike room and to dodge the poppies. Gonna be timing there to get as many burns as possible to save as much time. And entering the 4th Meta Knight Arena. So thankfully, unlike the first 2 Meta Knight Arenas, you're not trying to keep an ability throughout this, which means that it's not quite as punishing in case you make a mistake. And Quil getting Ball back here and going to be going for some ball movement called Ball Swag here, which allows you to get through this room a bit faster. Kind of a high-risk, low-reward trick, but definitely looks cool and definitely does save some time. Rock's just behind, also unfortunately, getting Ball, and is also going to be going for the same Ball Swag movements. Quil getting the switch there. It's essentially a shortcut that even in any percent you'd grab, but you can just grab the switch there on the way as well. Alright, so the fade out on 23-39 from Quil, so we'll see how much of a lead he still has over Rox. Rox unfortunately falling down there, so going for the wheel or the ball movement back up to get back there. Meanwhile, Quil entering this little puzzle section, which is you're going to use fire to light the cannon, and then use high jump to get in there in time. Okay, so about I think it was 23-39, so about a 22-second lead for Quil. But yeah, using the combination of burning and high jump there, essentially for this puzzle, and then you're going to be using high jump throughout the next bit of this level, just to save a bit of time as well for the fire line mid-boss. Alright, Rock's having no problems with the puzzle either. Not that difficult to do unless you accidentally get hit or can't grab the ability, in which case you have to leave the room and just re-enter. So Quil entering another mini-boss here. Using high jump like the others, you just want to get as close as possible and just do a whole bunch of high jump cancels. The high jump cancels themselves also do damage as well, so it allows you to get through the boss very quickly, and then actually grabbing burning to use throughout the last little bit of this level. Although there is, okay, so there is a wheel mix there, mixing those two enemies to grab wheel, saving a small bit of time, because you actually do grab wheel in the next level anyways. Actually, no, you don't, because you're grabbing hammers, 100%. I'm dumb. Anyways, yeah, grabbing that wheel mix from Quil, saving a bit of time there. We'll see if Rox goes for the same trick. Unfortunately, not able to pull it off there. Not a big loss. So what Quill's going to be doing here is he's going to grab multiple wheel enemies and then inhale them together to get hammer. As opposed to the other mixes where you have to time it, because hammer is the first item on the wheel plus wheel mix roulette, all you have to do is hold down and B and you'll instantly get it. So on Rox's side, he's going to grab wheel, use it throughout the first little bit of this room just to save that time, and then grab a whole bunch of wheel enemies at once. Unfortunately, he gets hit, so he has to reset, because you need hammer to get the switch in this level, as you can see on Quill's side. And once you reach that corner of the room, you can no longer get hammer because the wheel enemies won't respawn, so he has to actually reset here. Gonna go for it again. This time, no problems in the mix. As we said, all you have to do is hold down and B, but unfortunately, Quil already had the lead, and that's probably going to add about like another 20 seconds at least to that deficit. So, okay, 26:07 finish from Quil. We'll remember that C for how Rox does. Quil, moving on to Heavy Mole here. So, Hammer is pretty good here, and you already have it from the end of 5-6. You're essentially just spacing around its arms, not trying to get hit in the process, and takes about half a dozen or so more hits to knock it out. Yeah, it's looking like this is going to be, you know, close to about a 40-second lead, if not more, for Quil. So, alright, back on Quill's side, entering Orange Ocean. Orange Ocean in 100% is pretty difficult because all 6 levels in this world have a switch you need to get, which is it's the only world that has a switch in every single level. So for this first one, 6-1, all you need to do is keep hammer essentially throughout and you'll be good. If you do get hit and miss and lose hammer, the backups would be to grab hammer or wheel from a mix, which, you know, doesn't lose that much time. Or you can grab burning, like what Quill's doing here. Or no, burning wouldn't work there because you need to break the hammer block. But yeah, Quil grabbing burning throughout the back half of this level, which is going to be able to save some more time. So yeah, on Rox's side, you want to be able to keep hammer throughout this room, but some of these frogs have some random movement, and if you're not careful, they can kind of get to you and cause you to lose some time. On Quill's side, we're going to see if he is going for a stone mix here. So he needs to be able to inhale these enemies, and he needs to be able to inhale the Waddle Dee first there specifically, which he does. There's a whole flow chart depending on what the enemy patterns you get there, but Quil is able to get that stone mix. Another strategy that's sort of been routed in the past year or so. There is another room that you can grab stone, but this mix saves 4 or so seconds as long as you're able to hit the mix. Otherwise, you need to do the backup, which loses quite a bit of time. So yeah, Quil honestly playing really well here. I don't believe he's mixed a mix attempt yet, and he's pretty much gone for every high-level mix you can, or almost you can. Oh, unfortunately, not able to grab either burning. Okay, finally respawning that burning enemies. We're going to see if Rox is going for the... Yep, Rox is also going to be going for stone mix. We'll see how he's able to do it. Alright, he's also able to get it, and as I said, you inhale the Waddle Dee first there. Unfortunately, getting hit by the cannon. Sometimes you can get some easier patterns, but there are some more difficult patterns that you can react to, but you need to be quick. Alright, so Quil entering 6-3, one of the absolute biggest run killers and one of the biggest tricks of 100%. He's going to be trying to mix UFO off these 2 burning enemies, which is and he gets it first try. So the reason you want UFO there is you need an ability that can both break metal blocks as well as light cannons, and UFO is one of the only unique abilities that can do that. So you use it, you mix it off those 2 enemies, you knock out this bonkers, and you break that metal block that you need hammer or burning or another ability for. You go into this cannon room, and then you use UFO to get to the switch. So yeah, That in particular mix for UFO is very difficult because it's very late into the roulette. The intended strategy is to get laser in the ship, but it's quite a bit slower. So getting that mix first try is very ideal. We're going to see it on Rox's side too. Oh, unfortunately, Rox just a bit off. So you have 4 frames, which is, you know, about, I think, like a fifth or so of a second hurry. He gets UFO second try, which is not too bad. It probably loses him about 8 seconds or so from first try UFO. Fortunately, getting hit in the bonkers fights is going to be losing a bit more time. Quil just playing so well, not really giving him any room to work with. So Quil, on 6-4 on his side, one of the new parts of the route is getting burning, which in the past was mixed for in 6-5, but there is this strategy. Oh, unfortunately, Quil messing it up. There is another strategy to route for burning, which not only saves time because it's good with movements, so getting it there, but you specifically need a fire ability for 6-5 to light a cannon, which is why you want burning. And 6-5, the switch here, quite a bit easier. It's just hidden in the corner. So as long as you don't forget it, there's no problems there. Yeah, Quil, again, so he missed the setup at first, but getting burning mix first try. Again, I don't think he's missed a mix so far this run. He's just playing very well right now. Not that Rox is not playing well, but you know, in a race, mistakes are more likely to happen, and he's just falling slightly behind because Quil is not giving him any opportunities to catch up here. Alright, so Rox going to be going for the same mix. Oh, unfortunately, the enemy is not really giving him any... The enemy is not doing him any favors there, not really giving him a great pattern. Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to get the burning mix the way Quil does, so that lead is going to widen just, you know, ever so slightly more. Oh, Quil actually... Okay, he gets burning there. He got hit in that room, and otherwise may have lost it, which would have been unfortunate. He would have had to get a backup. We'll see if Rox is going to be going for, yeah, it looks like Rox is probably just going to be mixing for Wheel and 6-5. Unfortunately, Quil getting hit there himself, struggling to keep this burning. Getting hit again. These enemies just, they keep respawning. In this room, they move very quickly. So using burning there to light that cannon aflame. But yeah, losing him some time there, unfortunately, from getting hit a couple of times and having to keep re-grabbing it. What Rox is going to be doing is he's likely going to be mixing for burning in 6-5, which was the usual route until the 6-4 burning mixes with the Japanese cartridge was discovered. So other than that, 6-5, pretty simple stage, you're just lighting that cannon. 6-6, however, quite a bit more difficult. It's the final Meta Knight arena of the run. The first switch here is you need something to break that metal block. So you can either use burning, or on Rox's side, he goes to the backup burning mix, the one that people have done in the past, and he's able to nail it. So good stuff to him. Would have been unfortunate if he mixed it, would have had to grab the fire backup. Quil entering one of the worst rooms in the game, the UFO room, with a whole bunch of UFOs moving at random, but he's not getting hit. And what he's going to be going for is another double star strategy to not knock out just one, but both of these Mr. Frosties. So he gets one, and he gets the second. Nice. So you just need some good RNG there, and you need to make sure they actually give you a projectile, because otherwise they might just charge at you, and it might just waste some time. Rox entering 6-6 himself, going to be using burning to break through those metal blocks, as Quil enters the Meta Knight arena. See how he does. The movement's pretty precise to, you know, be able to get everything on time. Alright, he's able to get through there, alright. Back on Rox's side, so they're on the same level, though Quil's just finishing up. Also able to get through the UFO room. And gets the double star there. Quil entering the Meta Knight boss fight. Pretty RNG dependent. Meta Knight can really block a lot of attacks and kind of troll you around if you don't get great luck. The game intentionally gives you sword, and even if you get hit, it will not let you drop it, because it's supposed to be a sort of sword hunt sword battle. As Quil, alright, so Quil fade out on the 34-16. we're going to see how big of a gap between the two runners as they enter Rainbow Resort, which is debatably, you know, Orange Ocean is hard, but Rainbow Route is debatably just, you know, as hard of a world. On Quil's side, using Sword to get through this block room as quickly as possible. He's going to be dropping Sword at the very end there to grab a Burning to destroy these metal blocks. Unfortunately, he's going to have to respawn that Burning enemy. Gets it there. Oh, Rock's getting blocked, and okay, he had 1 health, was at risk of dying there, but able to hold on. So Quil getting... Alright, looks like about 49 seconds. I think it was 34:16, and then about like high 30 or low 35 on Rox's side. Back on Quil's side, going for a mix that gets him ball, similar to that stone mix we saw in 6-2. All you have to do is hold down and B to instantly get it. Unfortunately, Rock's taking the death there, probably just to get back health. On Quil's side, entering the biggest run killer probably in this game. It is a boss rush tower. There's 4 bosses you need to get through using the shortcuts, and you're going to be using ball for all 4 of them. All 4 take 3 hits each, and essentially Quil not getting a good pattern from Fan there, unfortunately losing some time because of that. Depending on what the patterns the bosses give you, can definitely lose some time there. Fan, not a fan favorite, unfortunately. Having a good Bugsy, though, entering the final one, Fireline here. And, okay, getting hits, but just going to be able to shoot ball there, because you're going to grab Burning once you're done with the tower. Oh, Rock's on his side, unfortunately failing the mix, so he's actually going to take the intentional death here to respawn the enemies and go for it again. You're mixing for ball off of this stone and the sword, and just holding down and B to instantly get it. So on Quil's side, bit of a slow Fan because not the best RNG, plus got hit on Fireline, but not that big of a loss, able to get through 7-2. Rock's going to be getting started on his side. On Quil's side, 7-3, you're going to be using Burning. Rock's entering this boss tower with ball. Alright, misspaced 1 hit with Bonkers, but going to be able to clean that up. Alright, getting a much more cooperative... Oh no, he gets grabbed! So that's what happens if you're not careful, or if you get some bad luck there. He grabs you, spins you around, wastes a whole bunch of time before throwing you across the screen. So both runners, unfortunately, having some not great fans. And, alright. Bit of waste of time on that Bugsy fight from Rox too. And then onto Fire Lion. Bit cleaner than Quil, is able to get there without getting hit. Meanwhile, Quil finishing up 7-3 on his side. A pretty easy stage after one of the most difficult levels in this game. And there's also no more switches until the final level in the game, 7-6. Yeah, Quil entering 7-4. A pretty difficult level because there's a whole ton of enemies, which means a whole lot of randomness of the patterns. You want to be able to keep burning as long as possible throughout here, just because it does save some time. But if you're not lucky, if you get hit by some of these enemies, you might lose it. Quil actually doing pretty well here. Getting through these rooms, no problem. Gonna drop Burning then to grab a Spark. Rox on his side, going for the backup wheel mix. Quil wasn't going for that. I guess, you know, he had a pretty big lead, just playing safe. But Rox playing a bit riskier, getting that wheel mix, which is gonna save quite a bit of time towards the end of this level and going into 7-4. On Quil's side, going through this maze using Spark to break through the blocks as quickly as possible. So just almost synced, you know, just a bit off, but Quil is essentially a whole level ahead right now. On Quil's side, entering 7-5, using Spark at the beginning here to avoid getting knocked out by these burnings, which can hit you from super far away. That explosion is deceivingly small and is actually quite a bit bigger than it lets on. Alright, knocking out that boss Grand Wheelie with Spark. Some of the patterns it can give you is a bit trolly and can lose some time. Rox on his side, able to keep Wheel throughout there, so saving some time and now merging back up with the Spark route for that final room, but definitely getting through 7-4 very well with Wheel. So nice stuff to him. Meanwhile, on Quil's side, Keeping Wheel throughout 7.5 so we can use it throughout 7.6, which is essentially a throwback level to the original Kirby's Dream Lands. But Wheel massively speeds up this level because it's pretty long and a whole bunch of it is just long horizontal rooms, so Wheel is massively helpful. Rocks going into 7.5 with Spark just like Quil, so again, using it to sort of shield yourself from those Sparkies, but from those crash enemies, but unfortunately getting hit and it goes all the way back to the beginning of the room, so he has to pretty much redo this now. Alright, not getting hit by these explosions, thankfully. And entering the Grand Wheelie fight. Meanwhile, Quil approaching the end of this world, and this level, yep. Alright, Rock's pretty good Grand Wheelie there. So on Quil's side, he's going to be going for a mix for ball off these two enemies right here. It's the second option on the roulette, so not instantaneous. Oh, unfortunately, goes for the first option. He's actually going to respawn them. He's going to go for ball a second time. Gets it the second time, so good for him. I think the first mix he misses. Rock's on his side, unfortunately, taking the death and losing the Wheel. I'm trying to juggle both screens right now. But yeah, Rock's unfortunately dying in the wind tunnel room, which loses quite a bit of time. He's going to be going for this backup off those two enemies to get Wheel throughout 7.6. Meanwhile, Quil getting the final switch of the run, now going into DDD. So another fight that can be done very quickly with ball, but spacing those hits can be very difficult, and unfortunately, Quil getting hit the one time. Alright, gonna be able to clean up the fights. And a bit of a weird glitch, if you stay in ball form after KOing DDD, it actually speeds up that cutscene ever so slightly. There's not too many glitches that we actually see in Kirby speedruns, but that's one of those weird exceptions that saves a bit of time. Quil entering the Dark Matter, or the Nightmare final fight of the run. The first part of this is essentially a space shooter, which a lot of Kirby games tend to end with. Just gonna be staying as close as possible to this orb, getting as much damage as possible. You don't really need a lot of health as long as you're not too low and you're not too as long as you're slightly careful for the wizard part of this fight. So you knock out the orb, and then you go on to the second phase of the fight. So Quil not going to be on 41 pace, unfortunately, but looks up to be on a high 42 pace. Rock's on his side, able to get the ball mix first try. So saving a bit of time over Quil there, but it's not going to matter soon. Quil is just about finished with this run. Rock's also hitting the final switch. So this fight that Quil is on... Oh, unfortunately, he misses the first hit. So you need to hit 6 hits total. That's the fastest way to do it. It's 6-cycle fight. But unfortunately, he mistimes the first hit. So the best he'd be able to do is 7-cycle here. Rock's entering DD on his side, but unfortunately getting a bad pattern and immediately hit there. So unfortunately, Rock's running into some problems here. Kind of low in health and no extra lives. Just needs to finish up this fight here, and he does. Quil still can easily get a 42. He needs just one more hit to finish this up. And there it is, 42. I think it was actually a 42-47 on the final hit from Quil. GG to him. So he will be moving on to face Wakaza in the losers final of this tournament. Rock's going to be finishing up. Looks to be probably on low 44 pace. So once you complete the game, assuming that you did get all the switches, this 100% screen will pop up just to sort of verify that you did do everything properly. Yeah, really good race time to Quil. He has the race world record of 42.05, but a 42.48 would still be 5th place in the leaderboard, a very respectable time. And yeah, he really played out of his mind that run with a lot of those tricks. So meanwhile, on Rox's side, so as I said, the fastest way to do this fight is in 6 hits, which would be a 6-cycle fight. All of Nightmare's patterns are always the same. It's not random at all, so it's just about memorizing them and learning the timings for when you can knock them out. So Rox, getting the first 4 hits, no problem. Nightmare stalls for a bit here before the final 2 hits, which are a bit tricky to do. Alright, getting that one, and just about to be done here. Alright, 44-22 from Rocks. GG. Pretty solid run from his side, but yeah, not able to keep up with Quil there. But finishing at 4th place with the 4th seed, definitely good stuff from him too, playing well throughout this tournament.
Yo.
Hey, Rocks.
Okay. For having not played Kirby mode for like whenever I got my PB, I'm mad. Dude, I was literally ahead after World 3.
Really? I didn't actually see your screen.
Yeah, I was ahead after World 3. I was mine because my PB it's a horrible early game, but World 4 was garbage. I got like 3 op inputs going for 4-2 wheel, so I wasn't able to get it. But I was still able to get 4-4 wheel, but like 4-6 and crack it were a train wreck. World 5 was awful. 5 except 5-2. So it was awful. I missed the 5-6 hammer. The hammer mix in 5-6. I'm not sure what happened, but like something got dropped and I just had her stop reset, which is really unfortunate. I think that's really what was the biggest time loss, which is sad. Heavy Mole wanted to kill me, and he did. Golden 6-1, 6-2 was alright. 6-3 I missed. I got second try, which is fine. Whatever. That's the first I've done UFO since I PB'd. Yeah, I messed up 6-4 mix. Had a really good 6-6 though, besides the arena. Mennonite was the worst thing ever. I got like 18 blocks, and I don't think I'm exaggerating. Then World 7 made me want to die.
Yeah, that Mennonite fight was close. So I actually didn't know if you were gonna get like blocked one more time and like trolled to a death. But you did get the wheel at 7-3. That looked pretty good. Yeah,
I've been like messing around with it a little bit, just trying to see like what the fastest strat is. First I tried like at first it was just keep wheel forever. Until like 7-5, but we figured out that Crash just loses too much time against big wheelie, so it's kind of pointless. But if we drop off wheel or after the clock rooms and keep it, just and drop it for spark and keep spark, the way you normally do. Like it's a little bit faster, and I got a really good, I got a pretty good decent with that, so I'm not too mad about that. But yeah, World 7 sucked. I died to the freaking RNG hothead at the very beginning of the block room, and then had to use Spark, which is the dumbest thing ever. And then died in the wind tunnel, got Real Mix, and then almost started DDD because DDD sucks, and boom, I never want to play Kirby mode ever again for the rest of my life. I hate this game. MK, please don't get 41.
Alright, well, you still got the 3rd place for now with the 4209, so GG's, and yeah, so Quil will be moving on losers final to face Wakaza, which should be a pretty great match. And the winner of that will be facing MK Cocoon in grand finals. So yeah, we'll be wrapping up here because we got another race going on just shortly. So thank you everyone for watching. Thank you, Rock, for stopping by. Post-game interview.
Yeah.
Post-run interview.
Yeah, if you want to follow Tybrid, he's a cool dude. He plays a lot of games, sometimes on handheld, sometimes not.
Sometimes.
And then go follow
people are lucky.
Quil plays like everything, and I play this game, but Meta Nightmare, the version that is actually, I don't know. I don't want to say Kirby mode's bad, but after grinding 100% out, yeah, it's bad. I'm sorry, MK.
Yeah, follow both these runners, follow both Rocks and Music Will on Twitch. You will not regret it, and thank you for coming on.
Yeah, see you guys later. Peace.